If someone books a 5-star hotel experience, I think there's many things they would expect. They are coming to a specific spot on this earth to discover what that place is, to discover the people, the language, the food, the light, and everything which represents. So this is why, for me, the essence and the beginning of every project is the sense of belonging and the sense of place. It creates an atmosphere. I'm Marie-Caroline Willms from EMCI Design Studio, and this is the Marbella Club in the south of Spain. Something that greatly inspired me into recreating the Marbella Club was Prince Alfonso. He was an incredible spirit and visionary. His father was going from Madrid to Cadiz to visit an aunt, and they stopped here for a picnic. And he, looked up on the mountain and looked and saw the sea and immediately fell in love with this place and said, I'm not leaving. And this became one of their family homes. A few years later, Alfonso went to study in the US and came back home with the idea and the concept of a motel. Alfonso did not only turn a private home into a motel, he created a vibe and an atmosphere. So I wanted to go back to that time and pick that up. Go back to the essence of the origins of what made these glorious years. What is the basis, ground zero of Marbella? I'm lucky because I was married into the Hohenlohe family. So I've heard all the, family stories over and over again of the beginnings of the Marbella clubs. It was very easy for me to kind of step into his shoes and think, okay, how did he create this magic back in the day? Here you had, a mix of aristocrats with movie stars, and it was so, so simple. There was nothing fancy, there was nothing, luxurious about it. He used these simple materials. You will see everywhere a softness to the building from the origins of what he built in the 40s, 50s. Nothing has a perfect straight angle because they used their hands. So it was super, super charming, often very improvised, but this casualness made everyone immediately feel immersed at home, comfortable. So I would implement this and would, for instance, use the simple local materials. In a way, it was like a recreation of what I think would have been the natural evolution of the origins of Alfonso. That was my design intent. So I have to say, working in hospitality is a whole different timeline than doing a residential project. When we do something, we have to do it super quick. So it became this extreme hustle of how are we gonna possibly achieve this impossible task, yeah? It is just so wonderful to work for Schumacher. And then they have, the most beautiful fabrics and such a wide range. Besides them being beautiful, was the time scale. I mean, we had to puzzle everything together according to what they had in stock. And this kind of quick on the ball New York work ethic has made it possible to achieve some of the projects which would have been impossible otherwise. When I found Citrus Garden from Schumacher, it literally reminded me of the Spanish Andalusian landscapes of rolling hills with, as far as the eye can see, citrus groves, and it's the essence of Andalusia. What makes this region super special for me, or why I love the south of Spain, is because it has so many layers of history, of culture. There's so much craft, and it's one of my biggest passions is this world of old traditional crafts. Probably one of the biggest challenges in this space was the low ceilings. I designed this like a step with, again, the traditional celucia, which is trellis, which is a very basic material in Spain found everywhere, and come up with this very eclectic, detailed ceiling design, which hides all the air conditioning ducts. And then these lamps I also designed because I wanted, again, to save on height from the ceiling, to not have something drop down from the ceiling. And then as everything is new, I then wanted to layer in something which is old and which is connected to storytelling. So I've spent some time collecting all these old frames and then put in them the old pictures of the Marbella Club. So another challenge of the space was allocation of the furniture. So eventually I came up with this kind of flowy serpentine curve to be able to sit people on both sides, but without having that double seating width. And I fell in love with this beautiful creeping fern fabric from Schumacher, and I thought it was perfect for the central seating area. So this is the bar in the restaurant El Patio. I was inspired by Sevilla. We've structurally built this dome to be able to tile the inside, to create, again, another layer of height for these low ceilings. The patio plays a very important role in Andalusian architecture. And it's such a beautiful place, so we wanted to give this life. Here, we wanted to connect the old with the new. So if you see those arches at the top with the trellis, they were part of the original building and have always been there. So I took this inspiration and created similar elements that we framed the doors with a little detail of the shell, which is done by wonderful artisans of mine out of ceramic, to create a detail and an anecdote that we are close to the beach. So this is actually one of my very, very favorite spaces that I've created for the whole hotel. It's the cloakroom and the ladies and the gents, but so much love has gone in here, and the intent was to bring the flora and fauna from the patio inside here. So what I've created is this trim, which is tiled, and these are white 10 by 10 tiles that are hand painted and hand cut out. This here is probably my favorite design of all. What a pity it's the gentleman's bathroom. So we are now in Rudy's bar. The reinterpretation was focused on what feels like a family salon with the intent of mix matching and mismatching lots of different fabrics, lots of different furniture. And it became, so to say, an eclectic collage of recycled, upcycled, reupholstered, and everything has a storytelling of what it's supposed to represent of Spanish culture and heritage. The red and white polka dot would, in a subtle way, remind you of flamenco. We have tiles in all the arches. We did these bar stools in a horsehair textile. You usually have the beautiful dressed up horses with their braided hair and all the tassels on the front of their face and braided into the hair. They're called borlajes. And we cut them all apart and integrated them as a detail here on the back of the chair. There's so many layers and details everywhere throughout the hotel, which is subtle, and if you ask, a whole story can be told. This is the oldest restaurant in the Marbella Club. So this was the original restaurant shape and form. It's called The Grill because Alfonso found an incredible Argentinian grill maestro. We actually now have Roque, who is the current grill chef, who is second generation, the son of the cook that Alfonso brought back. This inspired the design intent, and we wanted to create an Argentinian grill, which is elegant and sophisticated enough to suit the 5-star expectations of guests, but bring in this kind of relaxed Argentinian vibe. So you can see on the tablecloths that were inspired by Argentinian ponchos. This part of this copper is original, and these two doors. but the rest of it is not. But I've used vintage collected materials to make it look as if it's always been there. These chairs are the original chairs of the Marbella Club. They have always been there. A lot of the clients have been coming here since generations, and they almost sometimes feel it's their home. So we wanted to be sensitive to this and always have an aspect where a returning client has a reference point of recognition. But then I do focus on design of little details like these lamps, something a bit more different, something unique that maybe strikes curiosity and people talk about. So I wanted to do everything but blue and white beach club. So we have all these beautiful fabrics that have corals and greens, and the whole scheme is this different take of a beach club. So you have a lot of wavy lines that you can see on the back of the bench, in the joinery. You can see it in the flow of the cushions, that they're all curved. We had made these bespoke mirrors. So everyone sitting, in theory, up against a wall is not looking at a wall, but sees the reflection of what is behind and the depths. I just very much enjoy the thought that I wouldn't change anything. If I would redo it now, I'm appreciative of the incredible, amazing people who helped me achieve this, who have all become part of my creative family. And I'm just thankful to the client, to the hotel, for believing in me and for giving me this opportunity. And I have to say, it's probably easy for me to recreate a world that I understand very well, immerse and put myself into this context and recreate it, versus if any other interior designer would have come and done it.